Disclaimer. The information on this show and provided from or through this show is general in nature and is not specific to you or anyone else. You should not make any decision, financial investment, life, or otherwise, based on any of the information presented on this show without undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with a professional or advisor. You understand that you are using any and all information available on or through this show at your own risk. Try not to be a f***ing idiot.
All the recording's happening on my end, so you don't need to do anything as long as your mic is working and I can hear you. I'm recording on Zoom for the video and then Audacity for my mic's audio as well.
Yeah, cool.
The concept for the podcast, it's going to be called Omni-Normal. So I'm going for Omni being all things, normal being everyone's got their own equilibrium of what normal means to them, right? Yeah, their own normal. So we're exploring everyone's different, I guess, levels of normal in their world and how they see the world and what they do day to day, and hopefully having these conversations, which I think are really interesting. I think sharing that is something that when I look back over the last 4 years, I should have been doing this from the get-go. So part of me is like, fuck, I mean, I'd had so much interesting content from all the interesting people that are out there that, you know, I get to brush shoulders with. And
exactly.
It's kind of like a little insight into other people's lives. And then sharing that, I think, would be good because people can look back on it. People can learn. People can find out about yourself or whoever is a guest on the podcast and reach out. So it's a bit of a promotional platform for you. Cross-pollination. I got a number of people now that have been coming through my Facebook every time I post something about Ethereum going up, right? They're like, show me how to do it. This is great. This is incredible. So every time it goes up, more people get interested in it. And I'm just funneling them to you.
Same as last time.
Same as last time, right? And I'm just funneling them to your channel. So, hopefully,
cool. Yeah, I mean, everything's
value out of it.
That's a good thing. Like everything's on the YouTube channel. Like there's nothing hidden. There's no paid shill shit. There's no like subscription or anything like that. Like it's all just free, man. Like and
why do you do that? Why do you provide so much great content for free?
I don't know. I went through a phase there of it was so hard to find good content around what I was trying to look for that I was like, you know, I'm good at this shit. Like I'll just smash out some content, and it's the same thing. Like I started sharing it on Facebook, sharing it on YouTube, building my YouTube channel and stuff, and then it just started to gain more traction from there. And then, you know, all of a sudden, I'm getting like literally hundreds of messages a day from random strangers and stuff, and I'm just like, whoa, like this is it's pretty full on. It's taken a lot of my time. So, you know, I did it more so to help people. And half the reason I do a video now is because I still get a lot of people messaging me about, you know, crypto related stuff. And it's heaps easier for me to just go, I've done a video. Here's a link. Go watch that. If you can't be bothered watching a video for 10 or 15 minutes, you know, that's your fault.
Not worth your time.
I've done the video. It's gone for ages. You know, if you don't want to watch it, well then
you've done it for free as well.
It's up to you.
How much easier can you make it for someone if they're interested in this space? They got to put in some effort on. Their
so I did a small trading group there, and you know, I was back in 2017 or whatever it was when everything started to take off. I did have a small trading course group there where people were paying to buy the same content that is now free. The reason I made it free is because that small group still exists. There's no new people in there. I still post in there every now and again. And I've kind of said to those guys, you know, if you got any questions in the future, it's all free basically.
Yeah.
Like there's no, I still help them out on a regular basis. Just for the sake of helping them out still. So, I closed all that off because it was getting a bit full on, and I was looking to do other stuff.
Yeah.
myself with other crypto projects, and even keeping on top of, back then, heavily involved in trading and things like that. Like like my day was already full before having to take on other people's
Education
questions,
and
messages, and
questions
education and all that sort of stuff. So
for them as students
yeah,
to you.
I was already like spending most of the day on the computer as it was. So it was kind of like, at the beginning, I was kind of like, I'm already on the computer anyway. Like, I'm already doing all this stuff anyway, so it's not that much extra. But then once it's really started to take off, it started to become like more of a full-time job rather than this cool thing that is giving myself freedom. So
take
it was starting to take away. Yeah.
Take us back to the beginning for you. What was the beginning for you? Because I know there's actually Forex involved, not the beer. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of that as well. But it was Forex trading, right?
Yeah. So back in, it would have been, I dabbled in it many, many years ago. So let's go back to like the first sort of, I need to make more money. What am I going to do? Type concept, right? So, I started out in IT, had my job, my first job. I was getting paid $7 an hour.
Whoa! What is that
legal?
legal?
I had. I don't know.
How old were you then?
It was an IT. It was Hey.
How old were you then?
I was like 18. So
yeah, no, I still think that's beneath me. Oh, maybe not. That
17 years ago, because it was on it was a traineeship, so it was like 20 or 30% less than it was normally anyway, right? So yeah, the very beginning, and at the time, my mates would all give me shit because they'd already been. We're out of school. Like, I didn't even finish school. Didn't finish high school or anything. Just quit because I wanted to pursue IT. So I quit school, started looking for a traineeship, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do this, going to do this, going to do this. It took me like 12 months or something to find someone who would employ me because I had no experience, didn't finish school. I went and tried to do some networking courses and things like that, and that was all cool. That happened, and that worked. And then I ended up finding a job. And half the reason I got the job was because my boss at the work and the other guy that worked there, the manager, they were like heavily into cars, and
right.
They told me this after I'd already been employed, obviously, but they're kind of like, look, you didn't have any you didn't have anything on paper that was good for the job. They said your practical skills were good because I went into their workshop and like built computers and like took things apart and diagnosed stuff like that because I've been mucking around with it myself, for many years, like building my own computer since I was a kid. So I had the technical skills, but I didn't have the paper skills, right? Everyone's like, oh, paper skills, like, who gives a shit? So in the interview, I still remember this because it was my first job, and I still remember like thinking back, and they're like, oh, so go through all the IT stuff, and they're like, okay, so what do you do? Like, what do you do outside of computers? Like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I've got a car, and I like going out on cruises with my mates, and we're doing this and we're doing that, and I play sport. I was playing squash at the time, getting pretty involved with squash. So I was really outdoorsy as well. So they were like, oh wow, we're into cars and we've got this and that. And I went in there and saw the bosses, like, he had a race car at the workshop and shit. I'm like, oh cool, this is awesome. So then, like, that was half the reason why I ended up getting hired, because I had a normal personality. Like, just this IT dude who just kind of
relationships, building the right relationships with the right people.
Just sat in a room and like, oh, I'm gonna punch away on my keyboard and just work and do this and that. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, so started there. I was there for like 5 years, and then moved on to a new job, get more money, this and that. And then I'm bought a house when I was really young as well, like 21, 22. So did all the hard yards. Yeah, living the Aussie dream, find a girlfriend and buy a house and blah, blah, blah. It's like, cool, done all that. What now? It's like, okay. Looking back, I wish I never bought my house, because if I invested the money that I spent on the deposit and everything for the house, would have been way better off by now. But
right.
Yeah, so I recommend for people to get into investing and stuff early rather than
And not look at property as
everyone's
investment, or like property as
No.
as something you look at investing in later on in life.
Later on in life, yeah, you need way too much of a buffer there to get something decent. Like realistically, you probably need 20% deposit, so you don't get stung with lender's mortgage insurance and you go for a loan and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just paying out heaps of fees and crap. So I always tell people I wish I never bought my house.
Wow.
Basically.
Damn.
Because
I'm glad I didn't buy a house.
Yeah, because
I've been thinking about it a lot. I've been thinking about it a lot, but then I've also had a chat to a few other people, and it's like that was a great thing to do maybe 20, 30 years ago. And right now, if you've got all your cash wrapped up in something, you've got to work that 9 to 5, and almost it becomes like your asset becomes your, I won't say prison, but you got no leg room at that point because you've got to keep that 9 to 5 no matter what. You got to stay there.
You're locked in.
Or upgrade, like you can't go sideways. You have to go up constantly in your 9 to 5 and working more and more hours or trying to get a promotion.
That's the hardest thing with life, right? You kind of go, okay, like let's say around figures, you go, okay, cool, I've got a job, I'm young, I'm earning like $500, for example, and you go, cool, I've got $500. You're probably still living at your parents' house or whatever, and you're like, cool, I got $500. Like, what am I going to buy? So you start buying all this random shit, right?
Yeah.
And your lifestyle is so your lifestyle's at $500.
Yes.
And you go, okay, so next
I've been telling people this. I'm glad you go.
You're exactly right. So you're at $500, and you go, okay, cool, I'm going to get a pay rise or I'm going to get a new job or whatever. And you go, okay, I'm now at $600. Exactly. So people are like, okay, I'm on $500. I've now got $600. Now what can I buy because I've got an extra $100? So people automatically upgrade their lifestyle to the next buffer level of wage, which happens automatically. You don't even realize when it happens. I did this myself. I'm pretty sure everybody else out there has done it themselves as well. It's not until you actually realize that this is happening because you get to a point where you start buying all these things, or like I was always really bad with saving money, right? So for me, what worked, if I wanted something, I would go and finance it and then I would pay it. I've never ever missed a payment of something that I've had to pay in my life in terms of, a car payment, a house payment, something like that. I've never missed anything.
Okay.
Because that's the way that works for me. Like if I finance something, I know that I have to pay for it, so therefore I can't spend that money anywhere else. So that's what worked for me. So that might be the complete wrong thing for somebody else because they might be really good at saving money for something that they want, or saving money to spend on investments and things like that, which is what I wish I was like at the beginning. Because if I was like that, I would have been able to invest that money rather than like blow it on shit, because I was going to blow it on shit anyway. But I saw it as like, okay, if I at least finance something that I want that is a higher value product and I get something good out of it at the end, at least I'm not just wasting it on like, gambling or alcohol or going out, partying, those sort of things. Like still do all that stuff, but at the same time, you have a limit because you have to pay for a certain amount of other shit in your life before all the fun stuff. You know what I mean? So it's that for me is the big thing that got me in.
It's interesting, like the way you say it. The way I've pictured it in my mind is that what you've got like this. If you do have the opportunity to live at home for as long as you can at the beginning, you've got that time to be able to rack up your cash, right? So then you're getting higher up. It's almost like the seesaw or swing. So the higher up you go, when you do launch, you're going to swing, but then you've got more momentum to go further in the later stages of your life. Versus if you are spending all the cash, it's effectively you're not getting up, you're not building up a cash reserve. You can't stand on something very high at the beginning. No, so you got a small little jump, and then you burn out. You burn your cash reserves burn 100%. Out. But it compounds. I feel like it compounds when you're younger and you're not thinking about, okay, you've been able to tackle something which is financing, right? A lot of people can't even do that. They can't even pay the payments back on their cars or their
basic
housing.
things.
They want to get the house now, and they don't think about what happens next year if what XYZ happens.
That's right.
Occurs, right? And that's when you get the trap of you're spending money to try and keep something, but then the money's not coming in, and then you lose your job maybe, even if it was for 2 months, but then everything collapses because of that gap.
Everything collapses.
Yeah. So that's I
mean,
find if you've figured that out and we can discuss that, at least if there's anyone listening to this, that would probably be the biggest one of the biggest takeaways. I think you would agree that we need to share more of for people, especially when they're starting out at the beginning.
Yeah. So I think starting out at the beginning is important to learn about some form of investing in something, anything that generates a return on your money. It could be real estate, but when you're young, you don't have the money to build up to get into real estate. You need a lot more cash, sort of thing. But even if people dabble in the stock market, they can join the crypto market. They can start to tinker with forex and that sort of stuff. Yeah. Like there's so many things out there that you can invest in that is going to generate you some sort of return. And super low risk stuff is like I'm going to chuck my money into like an index fund, right? Which is it's almost like a super fund where it generates probably like 10% per year or 15% per year or something like that. But again, you can still see it grow as you compound, and it does compound quite quickly. Like if you put there's compound calculators online where you can put in like, okay, I start with like $5,000. I'll add like $500 a month, for example, into the calculator. Even if it's only generating like 10% per month, if you do that for like 20 or 30 years, it's worth like millions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like it's worth a lot of money. So even if you get started in something early, and it's even more of a reason to learn about this now because of what's happening with the economy, right? Everything's, every single country at the moment is just printing money, which is basically like, if anyone wants to look it up, it's called quantitative easing. They just print money. So what happens is if you're just saving money, right, your money is actually worth less in a year's time, 2 years' time, 3 years' time. Your money, like your $100 now, is worth less in 3 years' time because there's so much more money in the economy from all this printing crap that unless you're investing in something, you're kind of like falling behind anyway.
So you're either falling behind, or you might think you're standing still by saving and having 100 grand in the bank. But even just sitting on 100 grand in the bank, you're falling behind anyway.
And the 100 grand in the bank is all good if you do, like, like it's not good to just leave it in the bank. But I mean, it's good to have there if you've got a plan, right? If you go, okay, I've got this 100K and I want to plan to do something with it, not just let it sit there. Because what's like in a bank at the moment, you're probably getting like 1% interest, maybe not even that.
Yeah.
Which is useless, basically.
I think that's an obsession with savings. An obsession with savings
with the downfall of the dollar that's getting printed. So 1% per year is really not anything.
Yeah.
The only better thing about something like real estate or buying your own house is if you're dead set on living in that house or that property for the next 20, 30 years and you can pay it off early, the amount of money that you can save from rent if you pay off the house is then, you're saving $400 or $500 a week in rent forever. So that's the biggest thing about owning your own house, as long as you can make a plan to pay it off and things like that. And for a lot of people, that is the ultimate goal. There's a lot of people who can't even ever afford to get their own house.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality that we live in, where your low entry level income earner is just not able to get literally enough money to survive week to week, to then get a buffer.
It's crazy.
To then be able to even finance something to buy it, even though they would be paying similar rate than what they would be renting. That's the hard part that doesn't make sense. On paper, you have to be earning way more than what you actually need just to initially get the loan. Housing stuff at the moment is like super strict because of COVID and everything else with businesses and jobs and stuff closing down. So, but yeah, I think education around at least investing in something or anything. Definitely dabble in something. Start off with very small amounts to get your head around how it works, because you don't want to go and lose a big bunch of money. Because at the end of the day, if you lose a big bunch of money, you're going to go, "Oh, this is crap. I'm never going to do that again." And then
you give up. You go back to the way you were.
So, and then you give up. Exactly. Yeah. So we've kind of gone way off track here.
So you got a job in IT, and it was predominantly because of the relationship benefit of having similar hobbies to some of the owners that were in the business. Yeah.
So then working. Same thing. You work, you get a certain amount of money, you go out, you spend it, you get more money, you start to live to that lifestyle. You might get a nicer car, you might get a nicer.
When was the wake up moment?
The big wake up moment for me was when I started trading Forex stuff. So
on the side as a hobby, was that a hobby? So you
it was definitely a hobby. I mean, I didn't even know what the hell Forex was at the beginning, and a friend introduced me to a platform which is still around now. It's called eToro. Which is like a social trading platform thing. The fees are just ridiculous. Do not use it.
Right. Okay. But,
I
registered. I haven't used it.
Us being asked, me and him are always like, "Oh, this thing's going to be cool. We're going to be able to generate money out of this somehow, or whatever." And the big light bulb moment on that was because it's a social trading platform, you can actually follow other traders. So you can look at the other portfolios and you can copy them. So you can say, "Okay, I want to use like 20% of my equity that copies every single trade that they do," which is a fantastic idea. Like it's a really cool idea, but there's no stipulation on anything at all. Like someone could get stupidly lucky for like 2 months, and then they've got like tens of thousands of people following them, and then bang, they blow their account, and then like everyone else
it has a knock-on
goes
effect.
through the same thing. And that's what happened. That's exactly what happened to us. Like we found about 2 or 3 good traders, and they were performing, like they were doing ridiculous percentages. Like I was just like, wow, this is easy. Like why didn't we find this years ago?
Printing money now.
You start getting all these. You start getting all these like thoughts. You're like, "Oh man, I'm never gonna have to work again. Like this is gonna be great. Like this is gonna be awesome." I'm like funneling money into this thing like every week. Like this is awesome. And this lasted for about it was about 6 months, right? And what ended up happening was, like any other market, these guys were basically doing like a martingale strategy. So the thing with Forex was there were a few markets at that time that were just really strong. Like they were winning against every other currency. So pretty much you could put a trade on that currency, and then it would end up going your direction because it was a major stronger currency at the time, right? And then of course 6 months later, what ended up happening was there was a massive shift in the market. That economy got really weak. The market, split second, shifted, dropped, did whatever. And then that person's whole account was like blown within a number of days, because what they kept doing was let's say they were going long, which is buying, like you're expecting the price to go up. And what they were doing was the price was slowly coming down. So martingale strategy is when you lose, you increase your bet or your trade size, right? So they had a trade size, and then it would like come down a bit, and then they would like add another position in to like average the two positions, and then they would add, and then it would come down a bit again. Then they would add another position in to like trying to keep that average of like, instead of it being way up here, they're trying to bring their average like this. So when the price moves up, they can sell and still make a profit, even when it only moves up a little bit, right?
Right.
Which is it's a great strategy when the market is going your way, but the market it changes regularly. It changes all the time, so you can't just use that strategy and win forever. Like it doesn't work like that. So the light bulb moment was for me was that it was kind of like, okay, I need to learn how to do this myself, because I can't depend on anyone else to do it for me anymore, because I'm going to eventually lose money from them if they don't, and the big thing with trading is psychology and emotions and stuff like that, and anyone, when they're losing money to begin with, is emotional, and you do silly things, you fuck up, you do the wrong thing, you try to add, you try to win it back. It's like, it becomes gambling then. And then, you've got to really have a set of rules in place to follow to make sure that
it can be just as addictive as gambling.
It can be, yeah. And that's what I needed to learn. So I was like, okay, cool. How do I learn? And started out learning by there's a free site called babypips.com. And it's actually a really good site. So if anyone is interested in learning about trading as a whole, you can start off there. It's free.
I'll add it in the
completely
links.
free.
Yeah.
So babypips.com. It's a really good introduction into like what Forex is, how it works, all that sort of stuff. And it helped a little bit for me. It gave me a basic strategy to follow. From that point on, I still wasn't consistent or profitable. So I was kind of like, okay, I need to learn more. I need to find someone who is winning at this thing, and I need to get them to teach me, or I need to get them to at least give me some advice on some either better strategy or somewhere else to go to look, or
How much does luck have to play in it?
How much does what?
How much does luck have to play in this?
Very little, once you learn correctly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a learnable skill. It just takes a really long time.
It's a learnable skill.
Yeah.
It took me years. It took me years to learn properly, and multiple failures as well. Like the eToro thing, I blew an account. Tried it again with traders. Probably blew multiple accounts on that platform. When I'd say multiple accounts, I mean I wasn't playing with a lot of money back then. It was probably like a couple of grand at a time. So it wasn't like huge.
At least you didn't go all in.
That's right.
Could have started small, as you were
saying. And then I was like, I have to learn this shit myself. So I ended up finding a there was an Aussie company actually called Infinite Prosperity, and I don't think they're still running, because they were a really good, strong company. They were running for years. It was owned by a guy and a chick, and they did events and did everything. I learned a shitload from them, which was really good, because that was the beginning of when I was becoming good at this skill. Like I could actually make money out of it. And after multiple years there of trying to get the skill, I finally was winning. I was consistent over a fairly longish period. Like I was consistent over 12 months.
Yep.
Month to month. So I was winning more in my months than what I was losing. And I was winning. I was on my way. I was like, yep, this is sweet. This is good.
Yep.
I'm going really well.
On what's an ROI, like a 1 to 10%?
So month to month, I was probably making anywhere between 2 to 8% a month.
Yeah.
Which is actually
high.
Really good.
Yeah.
That's high. Yeah, that is actually high. So with minimal drawdown, and when I mean drawdown, they say drawdown is like how low your account goes at any given time, not necessarily because you've lost that money, but it can, like, if you put a trade on now and you don't put a stop loss, for example, and the trade goes against you, and you just keep let it go sort of thing, you don't follow your rules and stuff, you can go into like massive drawdown, and then even if that trade comes back and you win, it's still drawdown, but then you've won the trade kind of thing, like, and losing multiple trades and stuff like that in a row, you go into a certain amount of drawdown and stuff like that. So I was probably only going to like max 10% drawdown at a time ever, which again is quite low as well. And yeah, I was going really good, like 2 to 8%. If you do 5% a month and you compound that every month, it actually ends up being 100% at the end of the year. So it's 60% if you divvy it up into 12 months. But as you go month to month to month, like 5% plus 5% plus 5%, it actually ends up being like 100%. So you could double your account every year.
Yeah, right.
So, but that's been a good trader.
Yeah.
So
right. Okay.
Not a god trader, but a good trader. Like god traders might make 10% a month, right? Or 15% consistently. You'll see other traders who come on the scene, they make like this $100 account and they're like, oh man, I flipped my account from like $100 to like $1,000 in like 2 months. And you're like, yeah, but you're going to lose, because if you're risking that much money to trade every trade, all it takes is one bad trade and their whole account's gone.
Yeah.
So the way I learned was like, okay, we need to have risk management in place. It was like, you only risk 1% of your capital maximum per trade, and that's your stop loss. So if you lose, the trade goes against you, you've lost, right? You lost your 1%, you go, no worries. Trade's finished, done, whatever. The other thing was, with my trading plan, is to only take trades that are at least a 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio. Now, what that means in terms of either Forex, which is pips, or like crypto, which is sats, you basically go, I'm only going to take this trade if like my stop is like here and my reward is the complete opposite. So that's a 1-to-1, right? So you're risking 1% to try and make 1%. So that's my second rule. The higher the risk reward, the better, because then if you're aiming for like 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 risk reward, for example, let's say you do 1-to-1, you've got to be right 50% of the time to break even. And then even then you'll lose a tiny bit based on fees and things like that. If you do 2-to-1, for example, that means every 2 losses, if you win 1 time, you're break even.
Right.
So even if you're right, like 34% of the time, if you're right 35% of the time, you would cover fees and you'd still break even, for example. So you can see what I mean. Like if you go risk reward 3-to-1, you've only got to be right 25% of the time, for example.
Yeah.
So
okay.
That makes a big difference, because new traders, what they'll do is they'll go, okay, I'm going to risk like $100, for example, and then they go, oh, my trade's moved up, it's gone up $50, and they go, cool, I've made 50%, and you go, okay, yes, you've made 50%, but you risked $100 to make $50.
Yeah.
So what then ends up happening is it's the flip side. When they lose, they then have to win 2 times to break even on that loss. So they then have to be right 66% of the time just to break even. So and it changes more and more. Like you get a lot of people who it'll move 10 or 20%, for example.
So how did you get
cool, I made 20%. But at the same time,
I think there's a lag. There's a little lag going on.
Oh yeah.
So how did you get from Forex over to crypto, being that both of them tended to, at least the traditional finance system, and they were very much hesitant to even adopt the idea of cryptocurrency back in the day. And so you like what year did you get into crypto, and how did you find out about it? Was it through eToro or through a friend of a friend?
So it was 2016. I got into crypto. Now, I knew about crypto back in 2010. I actually knew about Bitcoin back in 2010, and I tried to mine it back in 2010. Wow. And I did mine it back in 2010 on a very, very small scale. And I actually tossed up buying mining hardware back then, which was a lot different to it is these days. And I kind of decided against it. I was like, oh, no, this back then it was about $1, right? So if you
whoa shit
yeah, if you're farming crypto back then, you could still farm it with your CPU. It was kind of just moving to GPU stage at that time. And as it was increasing in difficulty. So it was kind of at that stage, it was like, oh, do I invest in something specifically to do this thing, which could turn into nothing? I'm using electricity. I'm using...
That's probably the most annoying thing is when you feel, especially when you're self-reflecting and you judge yourself on this, and I try not to do it either, you get to a certain point in your life where you've had a few years that you can look back on, and it's almost like, oh, if only I had have done that. If only I had gone all in on that. But what's been interesting to me is especially talking to people who are a bit older who have lived through the internet actually coming into fruition. I know my daddy, he went to university. They had internet back then, but a lot of people still called that a fad. Like the internet was still not. If you can try and remember or consider that some of the biggest, most Bitcoin, for example, people wouldn't have imagined back then, maybe a small amount, that it would have become what it has become, and it's such a crutch to look back and say, oh, I wish I should have done that. I should have done X, Y, Z. It's like, well, you would know. It could have gone to nothing, like many other things go to nothing as well.
And it did. Like they tried multiple digital cash things before Bitcoin. Like
there you go.
There were failed ones before Bitcoin. So it was kind of like, well, why is this one different? I didn't know about them or anything at the time, but I saw this thing and I was like, I was researching. I was like, you know what, this is actually this is cool. This is really funky, where you can just have this random generated address that you can send this thing to people. And back then I had no idea how it worked or what it meant. I was just like, oh, cool. You somehow get this random string of characters, and then I can send this Bitcoin thing to somebody else who have this random string. But it wasn't that easy back then.
No.
It was really difficult.
Yeah.
It was all command line driven. It was hard enough to create a wallet, let alone try and find somebody else who has a wallet to then send these coins.
I remember watching on YouTube, there was a guy who had a 3D printer, and for some reason he did a video on using his own CPU / his GPUs, and this wasn't that long ago, obviously, because it was when they started using GPUs. But yeah, he was talking about mining rigs and how he was using his computer to mine Bitcoins, and he was joking about how much he'd just spent some Bitcoin on buying a pizza. And fast forward a few years, I'm thinking, wow, that's crazy. I saw that, kind of put it under the table, didn't understand how it worked, and then you don't know what bet's going to pay off.
exactly, yeah, exactly. And that's all it was back then. It was a pure bet, pure gamble. No idea if it was going to work or not. It's actually, for it to succeed, it was actually less chance of flipping a heads or tails. Like it was, and I think the main reason why it succeeded this time around was due to the fact of how far, internet and those sorts of things actually came. Tie that into fruition with the 2008 crash in the market.
Yeah.
That kind of had people looking at other
avenues
to somehow like protect their money from banks and all this sort of shit. Because you're like, oh, cool, I got my money in a bank. It's safe. Of course, it's safe, but then it's not safe. You know what I mean? So I think that alone, like, it was kind of like a cocktail of all these different things to then give it a chance, and it worked, which is
the perfect
awesome.
storm.
So cool. It's so cool, but it's the same thing. Like, when you invest in something, I say this to people all the time, because people say to me, "Oh, don't you wish you got into it back then and you bought like $1,000 worth of Bitcoin and then you sold it at like 20K?" And I'm like, if I bought Bitcoin when it was $1, there's no way I'm holding it until $20,000, like 10 years late, like 8 years later, to sell it. You know what I mean? Like, if it went to $10 or $15 or $20, I would have been like, oh, awesome! Like, I've just made 10 times my money.
Yeah,
this is awesome, and that's what everybody does.
I think that's probably the most more common story, is not that people came across like me we heard in a YouTube video briefly that there was this thing called Bitcoin, and then I forgot about it completely. There's more people who really got into it back then. It went from $1 to $20, and then they're all selling out. Now imagine that. Exactly. Imagine that. Then you go, oh my God. I mean, I could be on like 20 million right now if I hadn't have sold that. That would be crushing. To me, it would definitely be crushing.
But at the same time, it's the same. It's the same with trading, man. It's the same with crypto now, right? There's so many different projects out there that, I bought coins when I bought certain coins, and if I didn't sell them, they would have gone 100x or 1,000x or something.
Yeah.
And you kind of go, oh, if I held that one. But the problem with that is, unless you've got like this never-ending fund,
correct,
to keep buying every single coin, and then you spread yourself too thin and all, like,
I've got a
mate. Psychology side.
I've got a friend of mine who has actually done. He stayed on it. It went through its boom period back in end of 2017. Was it end of 2017? Was when it boomed?
End of 2017, start of 2018. Yeah.
Yeah. So that he got involved then, right? And he was sitting on six figures. He held it all the way down to the bottom. And even fast forward 3 years now, he's still looking at his portfolio, and it's the bottom. It's still the bottom. So even like, you can't pick the right ones in a way, or like you said, you need that much cash to put a bet on everything on the table.
Yeah, to just keep pumping into everything. And it's kind of like the crypto market right now is kind of how it was in that initial 2017 ramp up phase. Like all these DeFi clones of these different coins and stuff. Like it's literally Russian roulette at the moment. Like it's pick a coin, chuck some funds in. Like in the last month, I don't know how many coins I've just bought because I've heard of it and it was cheap, and I've made 2x, 3x out of it. Like there's been heaps of coins. But it is like at the moment in crypto, if you're going into a new coin that is something to do with DeFi, it is pure gambles. There's no analysis involved in it at all. If it's a brand new coin and you're buying it before certain things are happening, it's a pure gamble. No one can deny that.
Yeah.
There's like there were some coins that it's even worse than 2017 because like 2017 ICO phase, because some of these coins that are coming out, they don't even have websites. They have like some mocked up smart contract which is ripped off from somebody else, from some other project. They release it. They go, oh, cool, we're going to do this. This isn't. they create a Telegram group or a Discord group. That's pretty much it. There's like some of them don't have a website. Some of them, like, I don't know any of the new ones at all who have disclosed any of the team. So there's no one known in real life. Like, there's no transparency.
Okay.
There's no nothing.
That's scary.
There's probably
kind of screams very short term to me. The other I wanted to get onto. Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to. Yeah. I wanted to get onto the whole Ethereum gas scenario, or the Ether scenario that's playing out that I'm seeing happening, and this is right now.
Yep.
Because to me, I'm like, my goodness, the Ethereum, it feels like a false start to Ethereum 2.0. Bless you. It feels like a false start to Ethereum 2.0 when you've got DeFi and everything. It's exploding. People are putting money into it. And then your price of making a transaction is going up, and you're looking at something that could happen similar to what CryptoKitties did to Ethereum back in the day.
Yeah. So that's what's happening right now. So all of these DeFi projects, they're smashing the Ethereum network, and it can't handle it at all. Like, I did a transaction the other day. I paid $499 gas, and it took me an hour for the transaction to go through. And that transaction still cost me $20 or $30 to send crypto to somewhere.
So just so I'm clear on this, the gas price is separate. So the gas is used, obviously, for people who don't know, gas is used in order to create a transaction on the Ethereum network. It doesn't matter how big that amount of Ethereum is, right? I could be sending one Ethereum to someone, or I could be sending 1 million Ethereum. The gas price will fluctuate, will be the price no matter how large a sale or transaction.
No matter how big or small. So at the moment, literally, unless you're sending like $1,000 plus, it's basically not worth sending it, because you're paying like $10, $20, $30, $40 just to send the transaction.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because of all of these DeFi products. So it's a combination of Uniswap, which is a decentralized exchange, which anyone can just add a token, create like an exchange thing. And
I watched your video on that, and I explained it really, really well. So what I've done so far is, and again, just dabbling, but I send a little bit of Ethereum to the MetaMask, and then from MetaMask, connect with Uniswap, and use Uniswap to swap Ethereum for BAL. Is it Balance?
Yeah, Balancer. Yeah, Balancer.
Yeah. Yep. Balancer, right? Yep. But then I was playing with $900.
You've added liquidity to Balancer pool, and you've ended up with another token. Yeah.
So I mean,
so then
I don't know if it's gone up.
Then no, that's okay. So basically, what happens is if you add liquidity to any of those pools, you then get another token in your Ethereum wallet, which you then use on other staking platforms to stake and get more rewards again.
Right. Okay. So, I'm not really that far deep into it. I think, and I encourage anyone listening to this who wants to go further into this to jump on Mikey's YouTube channel and learn more about that. Yeah.
So I've like, my brain has literally exploded in like the last 6 weeks because I've been learning so much about this, right? So to make it, and I'm gonna so to stake on one of the platforms that I staked on, right, to generate this token. The best way to describe this DeFi yield farming stuff is it's a combination of mining and masternodes.
Right.
So it's a combination of both. And if you don't know what mining or masternodes are, it's way harder than either of those.
Yeah.
Basically, I joined this certain site, and to join the staking pool, I had to get DAI, which is DAI, which is like a stable coin, right? So I had to take that stable coin, I had to add it to a balancer pool, which then gave me BPT. I had to then go back to the site. I had to approve my transaction because you have to approve it first before you can add the staking token. And then I had to add the staking token that I've got. And then because I've staked BPT, it gives me another token, right? It gives me a different token. So to get that one token, I've had to add liquidity here. I've had to get that back to my wallet, add that in here, approve, stake it, and then I get this other random token which is generated. And then from that token, they had another token on their site where you could use
Oh my
those
God.
rewards to make another one. It's like stakeception. So it's like
multi-level marketing. Yeah.
It's literally like taking coins from everywhere and just like putting them in there.
So on a high level, I'm more interested in, and I'm being greedy now of your time, but I'm interested in that higher.
I've got heaps.
I know you're really into it, so I encourage people to check out your YouTube channel. But if we take it one step back a little bit, what I've been looking at is the difference between Ethereum and Tron. And I'm fascinated. I remember when I was, back in 2017, I had quite a bit of money in it as well. I ended up getting out, not as high as I'd like to have gotten out at, but during that time, Tron kind of rose to popular culture, and there seems to be a little bit of a taint on the whole Tron TRX coin.
I think it's because of the owner. No one likes the owner.
Right. Okay. No one likes the owner. And then I was looking at, but comparing Ethereum to Tron, Ethereum has got way more dApps, as in decentralized apps, on it.
Yes, 100%.
But then the whole point of Tron being that it can be an instant transaction without paying gas at all is crazy. Like that's the ultimate network. Like, why is Ethereum not like that?
Yeah. And I guess, I mean, realistically, Tron is an evolution of Bitcoin, Ethereum, other tokens that have come out before it. And there are way better tokens than Ethereum out there. Like there's heaps, but the same time, Ethereum has so many dApps and so many different developers and stuff. It's like a huge community. It's kind of like the Bitcoin community, right? You still get people even now who are only about Bitcoin. They even see Ethereum as a shitcoin, because they are just Bitcoin, right? And then you've got people who go, okay, yep, Ethereum is Big Daddy now. Bitcoin's shit because you can't do anything with Bitcoin. You can't smart contract. You can't do this. You can't do that. So Ethereum is the boss. And then you go, okay, other tokens that are out there can do it better than what Ethereum does it, but the people
adoption
who have
rate's
spent,
not there.
Yeah, because people have spent so much time learning how to program and code and smart contract on Ethereum, they don't want to start all over again. So it's really hard to get that adoption to move over to a different platform. Unless you were a new developer coming into the market, even then, if you're a new developer, it's a gamble to start learning another completely different platform than the major player platform, right?
So I've heard though that there is a way to convert an ERC20, system, blockchain, dApp, whatever, into another and bring it over. I think, from my understanding, Tron was built on ERC20.
Yeah, it was originally an ERC20 token, but then they went to their own what's called mainnet. So they went to their own. Sorry, man. Got some hay fever cranking.
Got some of that COVID.
No. I wish that I could stay home for like a month.
Don't say that. Cops are listening. No. Yeah, they'll come in and handcuff you.
Yeah, probably. It's a COVID cast.
Yeah.
So the whole thing with the development side of things is and that's what people are talking about now. They're kind of like, people are jumping on the DeFi bandwagon, and then they're starting to say this word you'll start to hear a lot of is interoperability, right? And what that means is cross-chain network transactions and sending. So it's kind of like you get these different coins coming out who are claiming to be working towards doing that. So I'll be able to.
Is this Polkadot? Are you talking about that? POK?
Polkadot's one of them. Yeah. So basically what they're going to try and enable is, like, I could send I could send you from Ethereum, I could send you Tron, basically. Like, they're trying to do this middle exchange swap thing. And Yeah, it will work because what will end up happening is it'll be similar to like Uniswap, where you'll have liquidity providers for, you'll have liquidity pools, basically. I think that's probably the easiest way to do it. And you'll have like a liquidity pool of like ETH and Tron, for example. Right? And then people can have a pool of that. And then all it does is that liquidity pool acts as the middleman and people send that and get that.
Yeah, right.
Like it'll be that. Or it'll exchange it on the fly somehow with an API tied into like Binance or something, for example, which could do an exchange swap.
Yep.
So if you use Binance's API, you could go, okay, I'm going to send Ethereum. The API goes, yep, cool, Ethereum to Binance, which is I'm going to trade it for X amount of Tron, and then you're going to get X amount of Tron.
One thing with Binance,
that's as simple as interoperability can be. You can literally use an exchange API to do the conversion for you.
What does that mean for something like Uniswap?
It means Uniswap will end up with less volume.
Yeah, right.
Overall, and I mean the only real reason why something like Uniswap has taken off so much is because of the fact that it's so easy now to create a new token and add it onto Uniswap.
Yep.
And because people can literally just copy paste in the contract address, and that's your trading pair.
So as long as the new coin was built off of ERC20 token,
off Ethereum,
then as long you've got Ethereum right now, you can convert that Ethereum into whatever.
You can convert it to that whatever token you want.
Jeez. Yeah. Okay. What is Polkadot? Like, I've read about it. It's meant to be the lifesaver for Ethereum. There's been people commenting about.
I honestly haven't researched it that thoroughly to have a good understanding of it. Yep. I kind of know probably about as much as you in the fact that they're trying to be that, basically trying to be like that middleman ground. They're trying to be, they're trying to be just another Ethereum, different platform. So I think the good thing for them is I did have a little look into it because I was kind of like, oh, it'd be interesting to like try and just create a random token on Polkadot just to see how it works. Because on Ethereum, like you can go to like some random website and you create a token within like 5 minutes. It's just a token. It doesn't have any features or it doesn't do anything, but it's a token. And I could go, oh, I've got my test token. I'm going to send you like 10 million test token. Give me your Ethereum wallet address. You know what I mean? Like you can do that.
Yeah, right.
Within 5-10 minutes on the Ethereum network. So I was like, okay, so Polkadot is kind of like, they're trying to make it even easier in the fact that on their actual platform, they've got like the same thing. They've got like a training academy and all this sort of stuff. Apparently it's going to be a lot of GUI driven, click this, click that, do that type style to make it easier. So you don't have to learn as much development side of things.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool. Again, who knows if it's going to work? It seems to be pumping at the moment, like it's going.
That's why I've noticed
crazy.
it. Yeah, and then reading about it, and I'll listening to a few reviews on YouTube. There've been a few people who said that, well, it's just the same as like any other. Or, there was EOS or some of these other ones that have been out for way longer. Who promised like the same thing.
I had
same,
all that same
promised
sort of
the same
stuff,
thing. So they look at Polkadot Polkadot's just a hype coin, is what some people have been saying. Now bless you, Jesus man, you are really deep in it. The difference, it seems, is that one of the for Polkadot, one of the strengths of it that I've been reading about is that one of the founders is actually one of the ex-co-founders of Ethereum.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So worth checking out.
I mean, if looking back at Ethereum, like I'm pretty sure Ethereum came out in like 2016 or something as well.
Really, it's only that old? I thought it would be way longer than that.
Yeah, it's only like 4 years old or something.
Wow.
And you think about how much has been done on Ethereum, which is really cool. And it is literally the largest development platform at the moment that you can develop on and stuff. So it's got a long way. I think if they were able to do the ETH 2.0 and come up with a scaling solution sooner rather than later, I think a lot of these other coins would just pretty much disappear.
Yeah,
because there would be no need for them, right? If you had Ethereum and it was better, and the transaction costs were lower, and it could handle more transactions per second, and this and that, and all this sort of stuff. If it had the proof of stake model, which they're meant to be moving to since like 3 years ago, it's been a long time coming.
It has.
Like, I built a mining farm back in end of 2016, start of 2017, and people were saying I was crazy because proof of stake was coming, and I'm gonna all of my hardware is gonna be worthless. And I'm like, it still doesn't exist now. We're 3 years later, 3.5 years later, it still doesn't exist. And
so with Ethereum 2.0, is that meant to reduce or completely remove the gas fees at all?
It's not going to completely remove them. I believe it's going to. There'll still be some sort of fee, because even to do proof of stake, people have to lock up tokens, and then there has to be a transaction fee. Otherwise, you wouldn't lock up your tokens. Basically, there's no reason then to get a stake.
TRX, as of this recording, is still going up, and it's getting a bit crazy in terms of its fluctuations. Do you think
what is it at the moment? Let's have a quick look.
Where am I? I just looked.
345 sats. Cool. I posted about that last night.
You did?
When it was at 250 sats, and said Tron is going to explode.
Yep.
Because of
the announcement of
this new DeFi product from TRX.
Yeah.
Now, it's perfect timing for old Justin Sun to be releasing Sun Market.
Yeah.
So, it's right now is the perfect opportunity for him to do it, because the gas fees are so high on Ethereum that he can literally take a portion of the market.
Yeah.
There's already been a couple of yield farming Tron tokens. There's one called Pearl token or something like that.
Yep, I saw that.
There's another token sale which happened just the other day called Clever, KLV or something.
Okay.
On Tron,
where do you go for your
Tron
news?
It's everywhere.
Just a bit of Twitter, a bit of Telegram.
Bit of Twitter, bit of Telegram. I used to be in a lot of different groups with news and stuff. Not in so many now.
Yeah.
Because it's all about Bitcoin talk announcements used to be really good to try and find new coins. In terms of news, though, I kind of, apart from all this kind of shitcoin gambling, DeFi stuff, I'm kind of going to be sticking to the top 20 coins. And
that's what I've always been interested in, and I know as well. When we talk, I'm pretty fascinated by the infrastructure and buying into infrastructure rather than buying into, which I'd love to do, but I just don't have the capability of really understanding the technical side of going deeper and deeper into random coins. I know there's potential for them to go through the roof, but there's plenty that don't go anywhere.
But new coins are gambling. There's no you can do as much research on every white paper that you want, but at the end of the day, all of these new tokens, most of them don't even have any MVP stuff. It's just it's a new token, cool. Let's hope they deliver, kind of thing. And a lot of the thing, what happens every other coin is hype starts at the beginning. There's a massive buy, and then there's a massive sell off, and then nothing happens. And then some of the good ones survive and they get really ramped. And then some of the other ones they kind of just tinker around there for a while. Tron is interesting. I admittedly I did buy some Tron last night as well, and
good man.
I'm really annoyed with myself that I didn't leverage trade it when I already knew that this was going to happen. I completely forgot that Tron was even on not Bittrex, BitMEX. I was just like, oh man, I was just like, oh, dude, could have made a killing out of that.
Yeah.
Leverage trading that on the way up, but never enough. I did buy some Tron, and I'm staking it in that Sun market.
Nice. Get in early. Yeah. What I
yeah,
would
they're kind of like
question.
I don't think it really matters when you get in, because it's like it's locked up for 2 weeks and then you get a reward. I don't know if there's a time frame or not, but last I checked, there was like 6 billion or something locked up in the website, which is quite a bit. Like,
it went from a YouTube video at 1 billion to then 8. If you go back to that website, I think it's almost doubling every day or more.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I mean the 71 billion circulating supply. So to get, even 6 or 7, like that's 10% of every single token staked in this one site. Like, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
like, I reckon that is pretty astonishing to see something like that happening.
I think the question that I had is that people will go from, as the gas fees go up in Ethereum, people will flood to Tron. The only argument I've heard against Tron is that there's not, like, you go into it and then there's nothing there because there's no dApps, there's not much action happening.
Exactly.
It's kind of just investing for the sake of it. Whereas when you posted that, I went and looked at it and I'm like, oh my God, I should have got into this onto this faster, because it's obvious that everyone just goes, it's like water flows downhill. It just follows gravity. And you can fill up a cup with water and it'll overflow, and then the water will go down and it'll start filling up the area around the cup. And Ethereum is full, but there's still more money going into Ethereum.
And that's exactly what happened. And it's like, like all of these yield, like there's so much money tied up in yield farming at the moment that, every other yield farmer is paying these high gas fees as well. So as soon as another different chain of coins starts yield farming stuff, everyone is going to go to it and at least give it a go. Like, like, even if it doesn't work, people are like, okay, I tried it, it doesn't work. Fuck it. I'll stick to Ethereum, my high gas fees, and I'll just do what I know that works, right? But if it works and it works well, I dare say it, Tron is going to keep rising, because more and more people are going to then move out of Ethereum into Tron, to buy that and yield farm on that platform.
Correct.
So what we might see is we might even see a drop in price in Ethereum for people moving over to Tron, and Tron keeps going up.
When you're moving, you go. Yeah.
Or what we also see is a large number of people go to Tron, which then eases the Ethereum network. So then there's just 2 level playing fields. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When you're moving,
and then they both kind of just rise, and then
they both go.
And then in 2 weeks' time, or 1 week time, or 3 weeks' time, another player is going to come out, and another person's going to start yield farming on a different platform all over again, like Polkadot, for example. Like, someone could develop a yield farming site with Polkadot, and then Polkadot would explode to the next level as well. You know what I mean? Like, it's that simple. So if you see or hear any other type mainnet platform offering yield farming, like, jump on it, basically.
Yeah. Okay. What happens when the cycle is reversed? Like, if you're looking for, okay, when's the right time? Like, I always look for when's the right time to buy in. I feel like I'm not going to buy in with Ethereum right now because it's at an all-time high. But I might be one of those suckers who's like, everything's at all-time high now. I'm not going to buy anything. I'm just going to wait. I've got a little bit in Ethereum so far.
Yeah, can't FOMO in.
No. So I feel like, okay, I've got to wait for it to come down a bit. I guess that's where, with the farming, is it at a risk that when it does come down to correct, or when people start pulling out, does it continue to cycle down, or can it stabilize? Is this something that more people that buy into it, the more profits everyone makes, or is it that?
No, it's less. No? So the more everyone buys in, it's then split via percentage of the pool. So
first in, first serve, then.
Yeah, like the earlier that you get in, the better, because let's say I find a new coin and I start staking with 1,000 coins as a round number, right?
Mm.
And that's 10% of the pool. If then another, bunch of people come in and they add 1,000 each as well,
Yep.
my 10% is now worth like 1%, and then I'm only getting 1% of the staking reward of that coin.
Yep.
So you kind of get this fluctuation of, if you're in really early, you get more coins and they're worth not as much. But then as more people join and start buying it, you get less coins, but then it increases in value. So if you're in really, really early and you do manage to stake or get a large number of these coins, and then price goes up high, like you can make a killing on this. Like,
yeah.
One of the ones.
When would it ever go down? It would only go down if people start pulling out.
It goes down as people pull out and then take profit.
Right, gotcha. Okay.
And then move on to the next one. So what you get is this cycle of like hopping from one program to the next, because if you're early in the next program, you get a much higher yield, even if it's for 2 or 3 days. And then if you find another one, you go, oh, cool, I'll jump ship to that next one. So what ends up happening is you get this massive price movement, crash, maybe another price movement, crash. Like, people may come back to it.
Yep.
Because if you go to another platform and then everyone else goes to that one, the other one actually ends up making more percentage because everyone's left it.
Right. I see.
So it's kind of like picking the good ones and probably sticking with it.
So looking at the top 20, I'm thinking what I'll do is I'll go into Twitter, find the official accounts for the top 20 that are currently ranked.
Yeah.
Follow those accounts, put my what is that called? The bell on so I get notified as soon as any of them post, and then hopefully, or you just wait for one of them or multiples to post about releasing a what are we going to call it? Is it the DeFi? Like a DeFi?
Yeah, anything to do with DeFi.
Yeah. Then you buy in at that coin, and it should hypothetically.
And just hope for the best.
Hope for the best.
It's a pure gamble. I'm not even joking. It is a pure gamble.
Yeah, right.
There's no.
Whoever has the best marketing wins usually.
Yeah, whichever product has the most hype and has the most people spreading news and coin names and Twitter and Telegram and everything else. Whoever has the most of that wins, basically, at the end of the day.
All right. Let's end it there. Unless is there anything else you wanted to cover?
There's one final thing I was going to say about your market and stuff. If you don't want to FOMO in and buy into all-time high coins and stuff, some of the proper yield farming sites. So one's called yearn.finance. So yearn.finance, right?
That has gone through the roof, though.
Yeah. So you don't need to buy that actual token. What you can do is you can buy stable coins like
USDT.
Just looking at DAI, for example, which is DAI, which is basically pegged at $1, right?
Yeah.
That vault is earning currently 85% per year.
Okay.
Right. And there's other stable coins on there like True US dollar coin, and US dollar tether, which is US dollar tether's making 36% as well. So coins like those, vaults like those, which and Yearn Finance has I believe it has an audited smart contract which has been done by multiple third parties, and it's all good.
Right.
So the risk is very, very little on something like that, because you're just putting coins into a smart contract. So even if the website disappears or goes down, you can still access that smart contract via, like Etherscan and places like that. So you can still do contract interactions manually. It's going to be a lot of mucking around, but you can still do it manually to unstake your coins to get your coins back.
Right. I mean, on another time,
that's definitely one thing to look into, dude. If I was you, if you've got not much crypto and you've got money to put into crypto,
Yeah.
I would look into buying stablecoins and staking stablecoins.
Okay.
So
Well,
look at Curve.
let's wrap this one up, and then I'll
Yep.
jump onto a private chat with you and actually
Do another one. Yeah.
go into details around that, and then maybe
Yep,
you could
sweet.
do a video for everyone else when they catch up and jump on the YouTube channel.
No worries. All right, thanks for having me on, mate.
No, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Always a pleasure to chat.
Enjoy. Talk soon.
See you, mate. Bye.